All right. Let's try and pick up where we left off last time. I haven't looked at the code since last time, but I remember like being able to create a right. So we left it here. We were able to create a fairly instance where we kind of, for now we ignore the server, the service name, and then we bring the configuration from the configuration file, and we do this. We start off a server, and then we do all the handling. Well, today we want to add this part where we don't ignore the service names. So we will have like some form of service list by a map from names to service list, and that way we can map pretty easily. And here's the example. Yeah. So the idea that I have currently is like to add this some matcher that says, right? That says everything that starts with dot predicate, right? If it starts with this, if the path starts with this, we want to consider this URL as part of the server, as part of this service, right? And this would be the service name. So I would like to kind of ignore the name for now, because like I feel like the name is not a good indicator, but it could be nice to actually do more debugging, I guess. It would help with debugging and log messages. But the matcher would give us, for each service, how to get from URL, like whether we, like imagine we have this URL, HTTPS, some IP, some port, and then we get like some value predicate test, right? We would like to say that if it starts with predicate, like imagine this is API v1, we will want to match on it. Like if it's API v1, please go to this part of the service. Otherwise, you fall back until you don't find anything with that that matches the matcher. Yeah, I guess that would be a good idea, a good way to go about it. And at some point, I want this strategy example. So this strategy, I want it here. And then this would be the default kind of strategy. So the ultimate goal would be to have something like this. But let's do things one thing at a time. Yeah. So let's add that matcher to the config. So for each configuration service, we have a name and then we have a matcher. So the YAML would be matcher. Right? Okay. So we say this a prefix matcher to select service based on the path part of the URL. I'm not sure whether we want to match. So the matcher could be like more sophisticated. The matcher I'll mention here to note to self, but the matcher could be more sophisticated. I.e. A regex based or subdomain based. But for the purposes of simplicity, Let's think about this later. There could be a nice contribution to the project. Right, so people who are interested, I got some interest from other people who want to contribute to this. This would be a nice... Hey, Froggy, what's up? I got some interest from people saying they want a prefix, they want to contribute. This is a nice contribution to the project. I'll share the project link. I have it open here. And chat. So this could be a nice addition to the service. So now we want to be able to match this. As I said before, once we added this, now we will be able to load this as part of the configuration. So let's try and run the tests. So tests still pass because we don't include this yet. So let's try to include the matcher here, and we say the matcher would be predicate. Let's say API v1. We want to make sure that we are actually loading this. If of that matcher, that's I guess services of one. Matcher is different than API v1 expected. The matcher to be API v1 got instead. Matcher. Okay, so it panicked. In line 5, okay. What's on line 5? I guess it's an indentation problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, matcher. Yeah, this is fine now. The problem was an indentation problem. All right, now that we have this value, I guess we can look at it here. Right, so we want when construction the configuration, like when we try to load balance here, we get the next server list and we do something like this. We want to know which service it is. So I want to, and what do I want? Yeah, so I want to map, I want the server list to be a map of string to something like this, right? The server list will contain a mapping between matcher and instances and replicas. This would help us resolve the matchers. Now we're not constructing the server list here. Good morning, how are you doing? Hello, Micker. It's actually evening here where I am in Dublin. How are you doing? So let's try and create this properly, right? Where do I create the server list? I have the server list somewhere. Yeah, so I get servers here. So servers now would be instead of an array, it would be a map. Right? Okay. we create the proxy and all. Now we don't want to do append. Replicas. So service now is .matcher, right? And we want to do this for proxy. For so we do servers of something equals a config dot server cannot choose map string config. Oh, right. Right. That's okay. So this is kind of stupid what I did right now. So I want to store all the replicas and then match them with the same matcher. So this would be here, right? And I kind of forgot what's my data model. So my data model is a map to a config server list, right? And this is servers. Right. Now let's create for each service replica, we're gonna create a server instance. Config.server. Let's do a server map, and then we'll create the server list here. Servers is better. Make a config. Right? And so we'll do server map at the end of the service matcher equals bconfig dot server list. Right, and this would contain a reference to the server list, would be the servers, right? Of servers, all right. And here I would just append to servers a new config server. Hello, have you got a good tutorial for Vim? I can't think of one at the top of my head. Probably there are a bunch of tutorials in YouTube. I guess there are even conferences for people to encourage people to learn how to do Vim. I'm not a pretty good Vim user myself. I'm just getting the hang of it. I just gotten used to using stuff instead of using the Vim keys instead of the arrow keys. I'm not the best person to ask about Vim stuff. All right, where were we? So now we are not ignoring the server names. Now I believe we can even go one step further and then add the name as part of the service, right? So every service can have a name. which we are actually do have it already. So ignore me. Config as deconfiguration, loaded from a config file. I'll add a to-do here. This could be improved as to fetch the configuration from a more abstract concept, like config source. That can either be a file or something else, and also should support hot reloading. But more on that later. I guess we'll get to this probably later on. Which OS do I use? I use a this is basically Ubuntu with a bunch of stuff on top of it. So I use i3 window manager and NeoVim for coding. Right. Okay, now that we have this set up, to do, I make a lot of to-dos to not forget about stuff. Prevent multiple or invalid matchers before creating the server. And when we want to match, we want to give like some consistent ordering, which I don't know whether, I'm not sure about if I traverse the keys of a map, whether it will be like by order of insertion or the lexicographical order. This thing will have to write a test for to make sure that it actually works. But yeah, for now, let's leave it at that. Okay, so now instead of calling serverless.next, because now we have a map, we should probably take the request, right? So let's call a function called f.find service, right? So because now we don't have the service list for the request path. Request dot. Is there a path in here? I'm not sure. Let's see the header. Yeah, the header is a map. So let's do URL dot. Is there a path? Yeah, probably there is path. Path relative paths. Right. So let's make this private. I don't think we want to expose this. Let's call it find service list. Let's call it request path, which is a string, and it could return either a service list, right, or an error. And this is a config service list, if I'm not mistaken. I have no idea what it is. A server list. Okay. All right. So let's try to see how would we use the request path. So looks for the first server list that is going to that matches the first server list that matches the request path, i.e. the matcher for now. Will return an error if no matcher has been matcher have been found. To do again, should we allow defaults? Right. Actually, does it make sense? Maybe we'll evaluate like whether this makes sense later on. Okay, so for each one of those, so we have f dot server list. So for each key value in that range, so let's do log dot info f, trying to match request. Matcher for request, and let's do the request path. Right now, if the key, which is if strings that starts contains finds first index, I have no idea how to find. Oh, real? There's no starts with. Well, there is contains. Please don't tell me I have to write my own starts with. Okay, so this is funny. Oh, it has prefix and has suffix. Okay, thank God. So f strings has prefix. Which one is the? So the first one is the string, and this one is the request path, and then the matcher. Let's call it matcher. Let's log that info that we found. Service matching the request, right? And the service would be s dot. Let's call it s instead of. Okay, wait. Why don't I have access to the name? Oh, this is having the list of servers. Oh, that's a weird data model actually. Where do I use service? Okay, so the configuration has this, but the servers don't have. Right. So I should probably copy the name here. We need to set them here. Name would be right. So that's that name, right? So we need to log in that we found actually a value, and then we're gonna return s and then an L. Otherwise, we should return an L and then errors. Do I have an errors package? Oh, yeah. Could not. Actually. Could not find a matcher for a service. All right, so now that we couldn't find it, we need to... So we either found the service list or the error, and then if the error is not null, right, we need to log error F. And then we probably will return a response.status right header 500 maybe. Pick. Is there an HTTP status? Oh. Not found would be good. Yeah, maybe not found would be nice. Maybe a more appropriate one would be okay, but... Okay, otherwise we, instead of doing the service list.next, we do SL here. And this is the next one. This is the next index in the service list. And SL would be, we need to forward to it. And I guess this makes our code compile, right? Okay, whether this works or not, we'll have to test. So let's do this is just gonna try to build. Right. So let's try the test that we did before. Let me get here. Let's run the other instances. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on this. I don't think it's very visible here, but yeah, it's all right. Let's look at the example. I remember having something like this. Yeah, so we have 8081, 8082. And let's say that the matcher is just slash to match everything, basically. This will match whatever request that we have. So let me start off with go run fairly. I guess we can run with this. Right. So go run main.go, not main.go actually, some command demo, not sure. Main.go, and then I guess the one is 8081 and the second is, I should have this in a Docker container maybe. It would be easier to set up. Well, let's not care now. Main.go, and port would be 8081, 8082 maybe. Oh. Okay, so this started the other one. Right, so let's zoom in this. Let's do a curl, localhost 8080. All good from server 82. So we tried to find a matcher. We tried to find a matcher for localhost. Yes, for slash. And we found this service, which is the test service, which is the one that matched, and then we forwarded for a request. So it seems like it's working. Let's do again, and this time it's gonna do the same thing. Only this time it's gonna match server number 0. And it seems that that is still working. That's good. So we can call this something that we did today. So let's see, what did we change? I guess let's call it commit. Stream 2. Add per service. Routing plus matcher. Service matcher. Alright. Any questions in chat? Not sure if there are any questions about the things that we did now. Before I move into the next thing that we wanted to add. All right, let's move on. Right, so let's see. We still don't have any concrete dusts, but I guess we can survive now without dusts. We'll deal with the other things later. You can notice that the selection strategy for everything that is related to server list is baked into the server list. So we don't have an abstraction for a strategy to deal with load balancing. So what's the correct way to abstract this? So let's try to think like how will a strategy abstraction will look like. Like if I say like I have a strategy, right? It's called a balancing strategy, which is an interface. What are the requirements of this interface? Like if we look at how do we load balance currently, here we need to find out we have a function that kind of gets in the next server list basically, and once we get the next server list, once we get the next strategy, we kind of that's it. We basically get the server list, and that would be grand, I guess. Let's start with the simplest abstraction, and then let's look from there. So we have something that is config dot server list, right? And this would be next. Balancing strategy is the load balancing abstraction that every algorithm should implement, right? So we know that the balancing strategy should return a next. I'm not sure whether we can allow next to fail, right? And once we get the next server, I don't think we need anything else. So I don't think we need the next. We only need the server. Right. So if we have something here that is, let's say, strategy.next, right? And then we'll give us the next server or an error. And once we get the next, we Actually, this next should give us the server, not the server list. Right? So we don't care about the server list, we want the server. Every call to next should give us the next server to forward the request to. And I guess this would work perfectly here, because once we have that strategy here, we can implement it. So let's implement the round robin. So type round robin, right? And it's an interface, it's a struct that should know about the server list, right? So we need to care about this. Right? So we care about the server list. And then we care about the so this shouldn't be implemented here as part of the server list, right? This should be implemented as part of here, and then once we go back, I guess this shouldn't be here. This should be as part of the round robin. And this should return a config.server, right? Atomic. Right? So this looks like it could be. So the round robin should know. And I guess it should only know about this, because we said that the round robins, the strategy should only be applied to a given server list, right? So if we have a reference to the servers, we can always do servers. What's invalid r.servers, variable of type config server list? Oh yeah, it's not an array. What's the server list? Yeah, it's a bunch of servers. So server.servers. And cannot use. What? Oh yeah. We don't know, so we should return the servers of this index, right? And then we should return null, I guess, as well, because we want to allow this to fail. And then let's add this at the implementation, at the interface level as well. Fine. And I think this is a good abstraction for now. It's simple enough that we wouldn't have a lot of problem actually constructing this. Now so I want this server list, which is the bunch of servers and the name, to know, instead of knowing about I want them to know about the strategy, right? Like ultimately. To do. Ultimately, we want this to have the server list to know about the strategy, right? some reason I'm failing to come up with a good abstraction for this. Well, I guess basically the strategy should take the config. Right, it should take something like this. It should take a bunch of servers. And then it should give us one of them. So it shouldn't keep track of this. I guess this would be easier if it didn't keep track of the reference list. Now here we should have instead of having next, we should get the server list and then get the strategy from here. And the strategy would give us the next server list. So, so we have a package. Let's call it strategy and then API.go. Strategy, right? No such file. Oh, come on. That's just sad. Oh, come on. So it's package strategy API.go. Oh. I want to name it strategy. Stormix, load balancer POG. What's POG? It's in main.go, I'm sure. Okay, so it's, let's move this so we created this abstraction to kind of have a central location where we have this so let's so config.server, right? This would be easier. And then let's copy these as well. Sync atomic. All right, so this is probably just editor problems. So let's not care about this. I remember having a Twitch slang for cool. Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know about the Twitch has its proper slang. Go looks fun. Yeah, it is. If you never tried it, I suggest you do. It's pretty fun. It's a very simple and opinionated version of C that has a runtime. So this would give me the server list, and I want the server list to know now about the strategy, right? Strategy dot balancing strategy, right? Is how can never be null, right? So it should default to a round robin version. Right. Now that we have this, we have the server list, we can just call strategy, right? Dot next. And this would give us either an X or error. What's the correct argument here? Okay, so let's load up the IDE again. I'm getting into Rust now, but it's definitely on my list. Yeah, Rust is way cooler than Go, in my opinion. I've done a little bit of Rust, and I like it pretty much, but it only fits in some use cases. I wouldn't run a load balancer in Rust. Writing it in Go is much easier. So where I have stuff that is, I would say, network intensive, and I would require some, like whenever I would say that the Go routines aspects of Go is going to help, whether writing servers or something similar, Go kind of fits that gap for me. Rust is nice for writing like distributed systems that require low latency. So if you're gonna, like my logo today is like, if you're gonna do it with C++, just do it with Rust. What camera are you using, by the way? I'm using a Logitech Brio 4K. That's the camera I'm using. If you want a link to it, or you can find, I can send you a link. Okay, so this is probably not so apparently a cell that's, okay, so let's see. It's complaining strategy. Okay, so we have a strategy, but okay, something is not, it's not good. Should I? Let's oh, probably I should import. So let's try this. Will it shut up now? No, it didn't. Huh. Did I save? I did save. Oh, I didn't import it. Right. So this is not used. And why is this complaining? No required module. Why? Has it got a cache problem again? Is this compiling? This is compiling. Oh, I guess I know what happens. So I'm requiring config for some reason, and I guess there is a cyclic dependency. Oh man, I keep doing this. Yeah, there is a cyclic dependency between modules. This will never build. Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so I need to introduce some form of transitive module to kind of not rely on both of them. So how do we solve this cyclic dependency problem? Why do I need to find a... So I need to know what server is, right? Okay. So let's create a domain model. Okay, maybe that makes sense. Let's call it domain. Server.go. I guess it's config something. Well, service, server, and server list. Let's remove service from here. I don't need struct here. I don't need this here. Domain, not server. Shouldn't need strategy. Shouldn't need this. All right. Let's remove this main function. So let's see whether we broke the cycle. So now we shouldn't rely on this. We want domain. And domain. Domain. Okay. Okay, so we have an import cycle. No module provide this. Okay, it's building again, but we should go back to and fix our main. Now it's not config, but domain. Yeah, now we have the next. If error is not null, we should do the same thing. Let's error out. But instead of doing HTTP, I'll do a server error. Right? And here I'm gonna log it. Instead of logging the error, I wanna log the error saying that, is there a wrap? I have no idea whether we have a wrap F. Probably. Oh, damn. I should import this. Okay, so if this builds, it should work. Now, if we don't have this, it's fine. Otherwise, the next, we could forward to the next. Okay. When 69. Yeah, so there is no forward into server. Is there a name? I don't know. Maybe all path would be. Right. Again, go test. Okay. Seems to compile. Now let's go run cmd with this example configuration, and then let's try do gurgles. Okay, panicked. All right. Oh, we never. Okay. So we never created. That's funny. We never created the how to load up the strategy, right? So we should have some kind of like const let's call it round robin we waited round robin maybe. Well, least busy maybe. Let's call it round robin. Weighted round robin. Yeah, and then we'll add one for unknown. Unknown. Okay. Known. Load balancing strategies. Each entry in this block has 1, 2. Implementation. Unknown typo, yes, thank you. Unknown, unknown. Okay. I can never spell. Right. So let's have a function that kind of load strategy. And this will return a strategy, but it can never error out. We'll try and resolve. Based on the name, and will default to round robin 1 if no strategy matched. Why? I have no idea. A balancing strategy, right? So I'll keep undeclared, sure. Balancing strategy. Okay, so let's have a right, and now let's try and put strategies by round by name into right. Okay, so now let's do strategies dot of name. Right, and if not okay, we just return a balancing strategy with current is 0. Which actually returns strategies. Oh, right. Instead of having a let's have a func that returns a balancing strategy, right? And here I'd have a func because I want a separate instance per call, right? So these are a map of balancing strategy factories. Now, if it's not okay, we want to return strategies of round robin. Right. Otherwise, we want to return st. Oh. Oh man. Okay. This sounds like it's working. Wouldn't say working, but it's compiling. It is. Not this one. I want this one. Now, once we're creating this, the service list should know about the strategy, right? And the strategy would be like strategy, that load strategy from the strategy name. Right. Now I need to go to config that YAML and add one strategy. Right. And let's go to the config and then add it in here. I actually have it. What? I do have it. Yeah, it's per service, not per... This should be removed. Strategy. Right. So the config. So it's not config. It's mostly the current service. Strategy, right? And this will give me a strategy. Go test. I need to test the configuration load-in again. No, not this. Let's add a strategy. Round robin. And let's make sure that this is correct. Okay. So found the character. Okay, so this is probably the problem that we saw earlier. It doesn't deal pretty well with Okay, so let's go run. Okay, let's see how this will do. Okay, it's kind of forwarding requests. Forwarding to some server. We don't know which servers have been selected. We should probably add some login to the load balancing strategy. Should probably provide some login. Let's see. Okay, so the strategy should probably have its own log. Nah, I don't think that's... Prometheus, I want the log. Come on. Okay. Strategy picked server something. Okay, so the role path doesn't contain much information. So the URL would be, oh. Yeah, I'm more interested about the host port configuration. Let's try again. Okay, so we can see that the load balancing is working. It's 81, 82, 81, 82. I'll consider that as progress. I feel like we got ourselves like a pretty basically working load balancer. Right, and I guess I'm gonna call it in for today. Unless you have any questions before I head out. I'll push the changes to GitHub like today again, and we'll probably pick this up again tomorrow and maybe the day after tomorrow if I have time to finish up with adding a little bit more tests and play around with probably another, either a weighted round robin strategy or some other cool strategy that we can implement. And I also want to add health checks so that we can track whether servers are up or not. Well, that could be a nice thing to work on the next time. All right. Thank you for the people who watched, and see you tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.